You ready, Liz?
I guess.
I just whacked myself in the face with that.
You sure did.
That was funny.
Good morning.
I'm moving slowly this morning. Good morning.
Welcome.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the adventures of Liz and Rebecca.
I was going to say the Sun Dragon Sideshow, and then you say the Dear Becky and Lizzy. And, you know, you guys hopefully by now know the drill. Although we could have new people. Hi, new people. I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in actually looking like it's going to be a pleasant day at Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
I'm trying to wake up.
Same here.
I still have coffee left. I've only had a banana this morning. I forced myself to have a banana on the way and thinking I'll get more food at the shop.
She's so good. She eats breakfast.
I try. My milk's gonna expire tomorrow. I should have had cereal, but excuse me. If I throw that all the way over there, I'm not gonna find it again.
No.
But I was running late coming in. Shocker. So, you know, I only ate so much. How y'all doing today? Yeah, so it's the Dear Becky and Lizzy edition, and all the bad weather has cleared out. My mom texted me yesterday of like, how are you doing? It's raining crazy up here, because she's up in New England, and New England didn't get as hard hit as New York and New Jersey, but I was just like, yeah, we got that like the day before. And yet the maps were showing it looked like it was going to come over us and be all nasty. And you look at the maps of rainfall now and it's like Louisiana, really bad. And then New England, New York, New Jersey, really bad. And us in between, we got some nastiness, but it didn't last long.
We got the feeder bands.
Yeah. Instead of like the chunkiness. So we hope everyone in all the places on the weather map of rainfalls that was like magenta and fuchsia and darker, angrier colors. We hope you're all okay. So we were like light green on the map, like so we were really worried about it, and we had people cancel appointments or reschedule. Like one's rescheduled for today because we thought what y'all got up north was gonna wallop us, and
sometimes it does, but the littlest wobbles.
So weird.
Yeah.
So, and other things influenced why up north got walloped, but Mother Nature is crazy. So we have a lovely little postcard that came. Look, it's a sheep. Doo, doo, doo. So we have one question. We didn't get any other questions,
I haven't
right?
seen any other questions. I just checked, but I can check again.
You don't have to check again.
Well, I mean, you know, somebody could be sending
sending
a question like
as we speak,
yeah.
Which means we'd answer it next week. It's okay.
No.
I have other things maybe we could talk about. I think we can also reflect back on things that we put on sale yesterday. I have props, okay, if we need them. So, but let's start with the question.
Okay.
And I can't remember. Oh, I vaguely remember the question. Coffee, maybe coffee.
I haven't pre-read it.
Oh, wait, hang on. Sorry if this makes weird noises, but there.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I'm reading the question, sort of.
I'm like, I'm ready. Dead air. Come on.
Tight slipped edges on a shawl. The postmark is kind of over part of the.
Okay.
Yeah. I finished my Storm Shawl and noticed my slipped edges were very tight. How do I make my slipped edges looser so I can block the shawl? P.S. I frogged the shawl and started over to the first garter section. Thank you.
Let me go grab my Storm Shawl. But slipped edges. I'm looking at her to vamp, and I don't know what to tell her to vamp about. Hang on.
So with slipped edges, you slip the first stitch sometimes, and the pattern will tell you how they want you to slip it. Yarn in front, yarn in back, slip it knitwise, slip it purlwise. It makes a nicer edge.
When the pattern doesn't say which way to do it, I usually slip, especially this one's got a lot. This is the Storm Shawl that she's referencing. And the this is garter. So when you turn it around to start your new row, the yarn is usually hanging in front. So when it doesn't tell me, I keep the yarn where it is and I slip it purlwise, and then I move the yarn to the back if I'm going to knit between the stitches. So, and I will say, like, if I pull on this, this is not giving any more than it already has. Like, I'm yanking on this and nothing's moving. If I yank on the bottom part of it, we can get some squishiness. See that? There's some give there. The top edge is the slipped stitch edge. And it is a little tight. I will say, first thing I'll say is that I blocked the heck out of this and I pulled it in all different directions. When I first blocked it, this wasn't as flat as it is now. Before I blocked it, it was doing some bowing or something. Yeah. Right? It was going the other direction. And I tried stretching it out and stretching the center, like aggressively blocking it, and then figured out the rest of it wasn't gonna lay nice if I just pulled really hard in the center and tried to even it out from there. So I had to wiggle with it quite a bit. Possibly neither here nor there for the question. But she's saying that her slip stitch edges were really tight. And some of that, so the slip stitch edge, it can make it look nice and smooth instead of for garter having the bumps on the edge. And I'm hoping that was picked up by the microphone. But yeah, if you're not adding an extra stitch there, it means you have half the number of stitches on the edge of your shawl as rows.
Yeah.
And that can make it feel tight. Don't know if I have a whole lot of great advice other than resist the urge to keep your gauge and tighten your stitches when you're slipping, because what some people do, not saying that that is what this person has done, but what some people do when they slip it is they slip it over and move the yarn and they're like, and tension, it's like, try to just let things happen on their own. And if anything, sometimes it's because when you look at the slip stitch after you slipped it, or while you're slipping it, or before you slip it, or when you come back to it, it will look loose and gappy and you'll say, what the heck is wrong with my stitch? And usually most people's gut reaction, if they slip it and it looks big, is to go, I need to tighten that up. Please try not to. Like when you first slip it, it's still attached to your working yarn. It's the last stitch you did at the end of the last row. And so the way most people have you do it, sometimes they have you slip the end stitch, but not in this case. And so again, people slip it and they go, that looks loose. I don't like the way it looks. But then you end up with a tight stitch that you can't do much with blocking.
The stitch has to, ultimately, you want it a little looser because it has to go up 2 rows.
It has to compensate for 2, exactly, because you have half the number of stitches on the edge. When you slip it, it makes it look pretty, but then you don't have as many stitches. Yeah. Exactly.
It's like with stranded color work or mosaic, you want to keep all that loose because you're stretching stitches longwise instead of widthwise. I mean, you have your tails behind, but sometimes when you slip,
I'm trying to follow, but no, go ahead.
When you slip, like on the night shift, you're slipping stitches and they're having to grow up because they're not part of that row.
They go to the next row. Yeah. And oftentimes and I hadn't thought about it that way. I was more thinking about having to traverse behind other stitches. And so when you do stranded color work, if you're trying to keep your gauge, then it's probably sucking everything in and you're getting puckering. And with mosaic, you're not using both strands going across. You're using one and slipping the other. But yes, then the slip one has to rise over 2 rows and go behind other things, which is often why mosaic and color work, a designer will have you go up at least a needle size to do that section, and try not to stress. It's you both want to pay attention to your gauge and you want to not over stress about your gauge.
Yeah.
Because if you're so focused on my stitches need to look perfect while I'm knitting them, then you will usually end up with things being too tight in certain places. It's kind of like, trust the pattern, trust what the designer wants you to do. And if they want you to go up a needle size, it's so that you can let go of your gauge a little bit. Like, don't stress about what's going to happen with your gauge. Trust that the pattern writer knows that this will help your gauge stay where it should be.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a side tangent from what our postcard writer is talking about. For bind off on a lot of things. And when people say my bind off is too tight, we will often recommend, or sometimes the pattern will recommend, that you go up a needle size or two to do your bind off. It's so hard to control your gauge by yanking on it. It's so much easier to control your gauge through your tools. I always tell people this of, I tell the story, I'm sure I've told it on the show before, of the first sweater I made. I said I need to test my gauge to make sure it works, because this was probably after that debacle with my blanket that came out to be 12 feet instead of 6, because I made assumptions. So I said, this time I'm going to test my gauge. And I took my super cheap needles from Walmart and that were the right size for the pattern. And I made a little swatch and I measured it. And I think I had 7 stitches per inch when I needed 7.5. And I often at this point recommend, don't just measure over an inch. I mean, you can break it down to inches to help your brain process it, but an inch is a really small amount to try to get accurate measurement on. But I needed more stitches to fit into a smaller space. And my reaction was, I'll just knit tight. I'll hold my tension really tight for this whole sweater for the man I'm seeing, who is at least 6 feet and a big guy. And not a skinny mini is what I mean. But and I thought I could control my gauge through my tension, through just yanking my yarn real tight and making my stitches tighter on these needles, because I was like, I'm not going to go buy another needle. I've already bought all this acrylic yarn. I'm not going to go spend another $7 on another needle. And I set off and I made my sweater. And I always tell people, it turned out it was a dress on him when I was done, because I couldn't tell. I was on circular needles. It was all bunched up, just like the blanket. It was a perfectly proportional, looked beautiful sweater. It was way too big for him. I learned my lesson. I should have just spent the money on the right needle so that I didn't have to overthink it and try to knit tight the whole time. And a whole sweater, which could take you weeks or months. Consistency on how hard you're pulling. You know,
it takes a long time to get consistent, and
then try to change that consistency for one project.
I
wouldn't recommend it.
I've had a couple of projects. I'm like, I'll just knit tight, and you got to knit super tight.
You cut off your circulation. Is that why you're looking at your hands?
I have divots in my finger from where, I'll just knit super tight.
She's got grooves. It's like she's her own Norwegian thimble.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to go back to the Storm Shawl and the slip stitch, I wouldn't recommend just having a bigger needle just for your slip stitch, just to keep that loose. That's different. That's the first stitch of every row. It's not like binding off or trying to change your gauge for the whole thing. But I would say, like, when I first teach people to knit, oftentimes they'll do a stitch and it'll move over to the other needle, and then they'll yank it tight before they do the next stitch. And trying to guide someone into, when you do your next stitch, it will pull the stitch behind it a little snugger. Like, that will help navigate the tension. To get someone used to that when they're not used to knitting yet is always an interesting challenge. But the same thing with this, of slipping your stitch and just trying to let it be, or trying not to do your next stitch tight, that can take some focus. And maybe that focus, just heard weird noises outside. Yeah. Maybe that focus, just if you're really worried about your slip stitch on the edge being tight, take a little bit of time and energy when you're doing it until you get into the rhythm of it, of making sure you're not yanking that slip stitch before you head to your next one, thinking that it needs to be compensated for, and maybe even doing your next stitch a little loose. But again, I don't like trying to rely on that to control what's happening. It's really just slip it, try to let it be part of your normal process, and not be overthinking your slip stitch. And then know that you might be able to aggressively block some of that tightness out, or like you might be able to manipulate some of that tightness. Because like I said, this is tight, and I knew it would be. Like, there's not much stretch going on there, but I still was able to get a nice shape out of my crescent shawl. And I did a pretty loose bind off, so I had room to navigate that. So I hope that's helpful. Do you have anything else we should
No,
address?
I think that's,
I overtalked it already.
well, I mean, it's
She knits, I talk. I don't know. Whatever.
it is the, pay attention, especially with slip stitches. If you don't want them tight, you need to pay attention a little bit more to those stitches, like your floats, and it's,
Yeah, like you don't want to overthink them, but you also don't want to underthink them or like get
until you get into a happy routine with a mosaic piece or a slip stitch edge. You kind of have to focus a little bit more on that area to be sure your brain and your muscle memory jumps in. Like, so it's the whole learning a new skill.
And I do want to also circle back to the person who wrote this said that it was tight, and I don't know how far she'd gotten by the time she figured it out, and she frogged the whole thing, which means she ripped it out, which happens. It's don't be afraid of that, like, because she probably learned a lot about A, the pattern, or B, what she was doing with her slip stitches at the very least by doing that. And so you have to decide if you're working on something and the edges are way too tight or tighter than you want them to be, where's your I don't care bar? Like, is that something that's going to annoy you every single time you look at the shawl and you're never going to wear it? Yeah, you probably want to frog it. Or is it, well, it's tight, but oh well, then keep going. It's don't be afraid of frogging and remaking something. I've done that with several things. If it wasn't bringing me joy, was it Marie Kondo? I Marie Kondoed it. So I said, this is not bringing me joy. Like, not the Storm Shawl, but the Stormy Skies Shawl is a pretty shawl, but I can't seem to finish that one. Like, it doesn't seem to bring me the joy I want. Not that it's not a bad pattern. It's a wonderful pattern. I just can't seem to finish it. And what I have done is I've ripped out the yarn I was using and made something else with it. Made something else that made me happier. So that's going to be a personal choice thing. Like, some people are going to absolutely fangirl and enjoy and thrive on Stephen West shawls. And other people are going to try it and get frustrated or get bored or get like, I don't want to do this. And they'll find another designer they like. And both are right for them. That's fantastic. I wish we all could love every designer and everybody's stuff.
I base my like of the pattern, not necessarily the designer, but the pattern, on how many pearls they throw in. Like, oh yeah, no, see, can I make it all garter? And sometimes,
or have they already written it
that way?
And that's actually very fashionable right now.
Yeah.
But like, you were just looking at a fun piece that you wanted to make, and you were debating whether you were just going to make it garter. It wasn't written for garter, but could it be done?
Well,
maybe. I mean, it might.
The fun piece had more issues than just.
Well, it wasn't Italian, and I was having fun. I was having fun pulling on my college Italian from 20 years ago and looking up things. And then it was like, she didn't actually need me to do that. She figured it out already.
No, I did need you to do that. I needed to know how many to cast on.
You could have figured that out.
I could have.
Look where the numbers are and make guesses.
2 pieces and then sewn together. And I ultimately decided I'm going to do it in the round.
But I learned
separate.
I learned so much about like how patterns are written in Italian and what the word for knit and purl, I couldn't tell you right now, but and how they're abbreviated. We have all the alphabet abbreviations in English, and I was like, oh, well, the M is Stitches. A stitch, and M dot is a stitch, and F dot is a row, and it was fun.
It was very interesting because when you go to search, like if you put a pattern into Google Translate, it translates into normal vocabulary.
Yeah.
However, knitting and crocheting are like specialty vocabulary words.
Yes, like the word
like surgery, or
like the word costa was in this, and if you look that up in Italian, it means cost. And it's like, no, we're talking about the piece here. Like it didn't work. but because I tried, I was like, I kind of know this word, but not in this context. And when you just look up the word and don't have the context, it doesn't work.
When you typed in for what came out as irons.
Yes, well, Pharaoh is iron, which it's two things in knitting. It was the needles, it was referring to the needles, and if it was abbreviated, it was referring to the rows.
Yeah.
And somehow you're supposed to know the difference. So if you spoke Italian, you'd probably know the difference.
It was an adventure.
It was fun.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I could go, it warmed my heart to think back to my college Italian that is really rusty. Oh my gosh. Anyway, you set up.
I did set up
the step ladder so you could show off your shawl, but if you're not ready,
I'm ready.
Like, okay, I was gonna say, if you're not ready and at a good stopping point, I can vamp about something else.
No, I'm ready. I finished, for those that didn't watch yesterday.
Yes, because not everyone watches the VSC. This was finished Tuesday night. I should let you talk about it.
I wove in all of my ends, and I finished all of my ribbony. I have puppets.
It looks like Cousin It hands, but colorful and beautiful. But yeah, we wanted to let you see it. People at Knit Night asked to see it, and so we showed it. I say we. It's Liz's, and she showed it off yesterday, but not everyone watches the VSC, so we're doing the grand reveal. Like, I can move stuff.
I'm gonna climb the step stool so everybody can see the bottom.
Okay, I'm gonna move some of the bigger things that are blocking the camera.
There we go.
Hi. And I'm moving that, and I'm moving. Aha, there we go.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay.
I moved the microphone. No, you don't need to be higher. Your head's cut off already. So, see?
I trimmed them all. They're all 9.5 inches.
They all look very nicely trimmed. That's fantastic.
They weren't as nicely trimmed as everybody thinks. It was grab it, 9.5 inches, slice. Some of them are
snotty foot. What?
Slice. Slice. Some of them weren't at the right angle, or it's not like they're straight across. But
well, don't tell people that. Let them believe it's all perfect and wonderful. No, I'm kidding.
It's where my I don't care bar was, because there's 16 ribbon ends at the end of all of them. So it was grab it and trim it and hope you don't cut your hand, and Fisker scissors are sharp. So
yeah. So you have scars from this?
No, I did get close, but
okay.
Yeah.
So this is the ZigZag
shawl in scrap.
But she made her own version of it because it was written for teeny tiny yarn.
It was written for double stranding lace weight on a size 4 needle.
It's really pretty though. Yeah.
And I did it to 1 repeat short of the pattern because I was doing it on a 10.5 needle and it was getting big.
You want it to be done.
Yeah.
That's okay.
If I'd made it longer, I would have had like 4-inch tassels. Big ones.
That wouldn't be, well, that'd be pretty, but pretty in a different way, and then be stubby. And
yeah.
Okay, so just some fun things or things we got in or things we talked about yesterday. Stuff we got in last week that may or may not stay in the shop very long, so just know that it's here. Is we've been out of the interchangeable sets from Likey, and they just got a bunch in and shipped a bunch out, and so we have super limited quantities because we don't tend to carry massive amounts in the shop. But the 5-inch interchangeable 5-inch tips, sorry, that's probably making all crackly noise on the microphone, interchangeable sets we have in the driftwood and we have in the indigo. If you like the blue tips, it's the same wood. It's this birch wood, but these are gray. These are like a warm gray, and these are blue. And the 5-inch interchangeable sets, they retail for $135 at our shop, and you have tips from US size 4 to US 17, so they go up bigger than the Chowgu ones go, but not as small. And then you have 2 cords to make a 24-inch length once you add the tips, 2 cords for a 32-inch length, and 1 cord for a 40-inch length. But we carry extra cords if you want any of them, which is wonderful. 2 connectors, 4 keys, 8 stoppers if you're not sure what those are. we can explain them to you. We only have one of each right now. So if you've been dying for one of these, jump online or come by the shop and grab them and see if we still have them. We'll order more, but there are already, most of this is still listed as being out of stock on their website for us as wholesalers. Like bringing them, like to get them wholesale from them to retail to you. Which means they're filling back orders. And if the back orders get filled and they run out again, you can't get more. You have to go on back order again. So frustrating. Start a yarn shop, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
It'll be easy.
It'll be easy. You'll always have stuff in stock. We have 2 of these little guys, and these guys are the 3.5-inch tip sets. So these are good if you want to make hats and things like that, things on a small circumference, because 5-inch tips, it's hard to make hat sizes, like where you can go in a small circle. These don't go in super small circles, but let's see what we got in here. And it's so little and cute, right?
Little and cute.
These are $110, and you get 9 pairs of tips. You get US 3s, so they go a little smaller, but it only goes up to a 10.5 for the small tips. And then you have 2 cords that will make a 16-inch length, 1 cord to make a 20-inch length, and 1 cord for a 24-inch length. So this is really geared towards doing smaller things and smaller circumference circles, like hats. And then I just pulled.
Right now, I'll talk about them. You talked about the other 2.
She doesn't know why I brought some of that over. Half of that, yes, half of that, no. But 2 connectors, 4 keys, and 8 stoppers, $110. The first thing in a package like this that Liz will talk about is we've had them in stock. I figured as long as we're doing this, they didn't just come in, but they're things we have. But
and we don't have the blue ones.
We don't have the blue ones right now. We
So
only have the driftwood.
We have the driftwood. These are the crochet hook sets. They're awesome. You get hooks E through M, including the mythological 7. So for those that you only use millimeters, it is 3.5 to 9.
I didn't say millimeters on any of the knitting needles.
No.
Let us know if you need that. Go ahead.
I found lately a lot of our crocheters are
Going by
millimeters,
which is good, which is important. It's the universal language for all of these tools, rather than what the US does and the UK does, and Canada might go with the UK system, and the continent of Europe might do something else. But everybody talks about millimeters.
The Italian pattern that we were looking at, it was like use a 6.5 and a 7. Well, there's no 6.5 in American sizes. They're talking millimeters, but it just said use a 6.5 and a 7.
The metric system is a pretty good default. So it's got a nice case that stands up so you can display these
them.
Faux denim cases. I really like.
$115.
$115 for all those crochet hooks. The crochet hooks I really love because they have the slickness like metal crochet hooks, but metal crochet hooks tend to have a snub nose end to them. They tend to not be pointy, but the wood ones are pointy. And so I find the Likey is like the best of both worlds. And the same thing for the Likey with the knitting needles. I'm a metal knitting needle fan, but when I go to wood, I use my Likeys because they are almost as slick, if not as slick as metal, but they have the warmth in your hands of wood. So they're a nice best of all worlds. Go ahead.
The other thing we got, and it's not stickered yet, and the prices will vary over the course of the selection.
They are available. Well, they will be available online, even if they're not stickered yet for shop
I just
sale.
have to put the stickers on.
They're in the system, and I've taken one photo to put up for the listing.
We got the 32-inch length set of Likey blue indigos.
We have them in 40-inch already. So the blue tips, rather, we have them, as long as they're in stock, we have them in from 16-inch length to 40-inch length in all sizes in the driftwood, in the warm gray, classic warm gray that Likey started with. I've been slowly investing in different length size sets for the indigo because they're so fun. And I think the cords are a little more flexible with the indigo. The blue cords are a little bit less memory prone, like stiff.
Still have memory, but
Yeah, but
little
they're
less.
not as stiff as the black cords.
And we have sizes 0 through 17 in the 32 inch.
In the 32 inch. It's weird. I brought the 40 inch in first, and those only went up to a 15. But the 32 inch goes up to a 17. I don't know why. When you buy like the pack to get us set with three of each size. I don't know if they make the 40 inch in a 17, and I don't know why, because usually if you don't have a really big size, it's because the cord is short. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of something that someone else made a decision on. So, but if 40 inches, I know if 40 inches is too long for you, we now have the pretty blues in 32 inches.
And all the blues will vary. It's like, not like they're a standard soft blue. Like
some of them are a light blue and some of them are a dark blue. And the same thing with the driftwood is you get different tones and it's unpredictable, which if you're going to get light or dark. So if you need a needle that's going to show up against your knitting, like a dark color you're knitting with, and you want to be able to see the needle, you probably want to go with metal. I've noticed that in my morning meditations when I'm using the Lakes versus my Chow Goose, what will show up better, what you'll actually see the stitches of better. And it depends on the color you're knitting with too. So, why not just have everything in every color if you can afford it? Okay, so the other thing I brought in from home, we were talking about yarnets. I almost called this Big Silly, but this is the Big Silly. These are mine that I'm using and testing and playing around with at home. And I wanted to tell you, I told you, like, I use this guy for mohair. Look, I've got my color changing mohair in it, and it just bubbles around like that. I am holding it with a strand of fingering weight Cascade Heritage Silk white, and here's all I have left of this. This could be in its own yarnet to have, control and cohesion, or I could have done the Big Sully.
You could have put a yarn cozy on your.
I could have. I still can, but it's still going to be a little bit of a hot mess. But that would be a wonderful combination. A yarn cozy on this one, and the Big Sully to maintain the mohair, contain the mohair. What I'm making with this, and I need to get back to this at some point, is I'm making a sweater. This is the No Frills sweater by Petite Knit. I wanted to make something that would show off the color changing mohair, and I'm combining it with a white just to let the color play. And I think I've said on the show before, I would love to see what would happen if I'd combine the mohair with black.
It would have looked.
I think it would have looked really cool and somewhat subtle, but really cool as well. I'm close, but no cigar on the sleeve separation for this. But when I decide to pull on both of these, and you totally can't see it because, wait, I'm making a hot mess.
I'm going to hold it here.
I was just going to move it over. She's trying to be like butlering it. I don't know.
I was trying to be helpful.
I know, but you're knitting.
I can stop knitting at any time.
Look. Now I have a hot mess out here I need to knit with at some point today because I could get it back in there. But this just sits on the table and my mohair rattles around but stays by itself and doesn't tangle with anything else until it comes out of the yarn.
It's like a fluffy hamster wheel.
And it looks like a little hamster in there.
Yeah.
But again, it's got the latch that, I have dropped this off the table enough times that I can yank on this and probably pull it open, but it really, for the most part, stays shut. It's only if you really, really bust it that it starts to kind of not stay as latched shut as you want it. But for the most part, this, unless I yank or pull really hard on it, it's staying latched shut. I say I've knocked it off the table. My cat has knocked it off the table, but it still hasn't broken and it's still very functional. And I've had it for a while. The other one, stay, ready? Nope. Actually, I'm leaning that against the other thing I want to show off, so that's not gonna work. My golden fern sweater that people have seen in various states, and I've really stalled out not because I don't want to work on it, because I'm working on so many other things. I have mildly stalled out on the sleeve over here. What is going on?
She could finish a sweater.
I'm trying to finish the short sleeve ones. This is long sleeve. So I use my Big Sully for two different things with this golden fern. I use it when I'm doing the color work. I'll have one of the spiced plum and one of the burnished in my Big Sully. But right now, I think I mentioned yesterday, because I'm working on the sleeves and I can settle this tray in there nicely. I am alternating skeins of this tonal hand dye. So I have two, trying to show, I have two balls with two pieces coming out, and they're both attached to the sleeve I'm working on. Hot mess. I mean, it goes through all this first, but they're both attached to the sleeve I'm working on, but this keeps them from tangling with each other. I have one strand here and I have one strand over here. Put them against, see right there, kind of, I don't know, it's too bright out. But this keeps them contained and from going everywhere, and I can find them, and yay. So I love my Big Sullies and my yarnets. We have 3 yarnets left in the shop. One was bought this morning. We have 3 left. And what I always try to say about the Big Sullies and the yarnets, or anything we were offering for the 15% off, if we're out of stock in something that we can get back in again. Like last week we had the Motley on sale, and we can't get it back in again. So once it's gone, it's gone. But if it's something we can get back in again, and you notice it's out of stock and you really wanted to save that 15%, contact us, email us, call the shop. We can do a pre-order for the sale price. You just can't do that online, because things would get all kinds of out of control if that could happen. People could overbuy and then we couldn't fill the orders. Or we don't know if we can get it back in. But if you notice that something that we've advertised as a product of the week is out of stock, contact the shop to see if it's possible to still get it at the sale price during that week, like a pre-order. Probably have to pay for it then, but we'll work with you on that. So contact us. We like to be as helpful as possible, right?
We do.
She'll disagree with anything I say. No,
Sometimes.
We should get going, because we may or may not have a 10 o'clock appointment, or we may or may not have people wandering in at 10, which is fine, because that's when we open. So, and it's a nice enough day today. I'd love to put the tent up and put some yarn out.
I think we could
outside.
do that today, because it's not supposed to be hot either. It's
Even,
supposed to be in the upper 70s.
Even yesterday was this chance of rain craziness, and we just didn't even put the tent up. But let's see. Schedule. Tomorrow night
is knit night.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think Liz was going to say on Zoom.
On Zoom. Zoom code 828-877-3550.
Shop phone number. And we'll be filming again on Tuesday, doing all the fun. You get to see what we did over the weekend. Although, I mean, right now my weekends, I'm just tired. If anyone has any advice on how I can feel more rested when there aren't more hours in the day and there's still lots of stuff to do, let me know. But what?
Keeping in mind, she doesn't like resting.
Well, resting means I don't get stuff done. I know I need to rest. Okay, self-care. I can tell everybody else to get self-care. Me self-care. What are you talking about?
Liz, you haven't done anything all day. It's okay. It's your day off. You go ahead and rest and not do anything. Rebecca, it's your day off. Rest and not. I can't.
Yeah, that's basically what I sound like. It's true. Oh, the other thing. Speaking of not taking time off, if I am trying to figure out where to focus my energies on the next kits to try to get up online, or the next yarns to try to get up online for y'all. For those of you who aren't local, like you can always call us and we'll help set you up with stuff. We're going to work on putting together a Charlotte's Universe, my big crochet thing, a package of for a Charlotte's Universe for a customer today. But I keep wanting to get more options for you to just like point and click online. Let me know of the projects I've been working on recently and showing off to y'all, and maybe even anything Liz has been working on within reason. If you'd like to see listings online for kits, for yarn assemblies, for things, let me know. Like I just did my Rebel 2 this morning, which is brioche. I've got Scottish Highland shawl. Like there's so many options. I'm not even sure where to start. So if you all have suggestions, or one of the ones, remember we were talking before about one that's like a 2-skein project, same yarn, but you would like the ease of saying, ooh, I'll make it out of this and not having to go find it yourself. Looking through options just under the category of a project you're interested in. Let us know what you're interested in us posting, and maybe that will inspire me to actually get some done. So last weekend I got a couple of night shift and shift combos up, but those were listings that already were there and I added to them, and I'm happy to do that too. Let me know what you'd like to see, and hopefully I'll start with that. I'm looking for inspiration.
Caveat on the Liz, if you're looking to buy a scrappy shawl, don't. I work at a yarn store.
Yeah, it's expensive. So dive into your stash, use it up, and then come buy stuff for us for your next project.
Or if you're looking for something to add into it, great. But don't buy all the scrappies from
or call us up or come by the shop with some of your stash, and then we can complement it. We can fill it out from the shop. But that may not be a full online listing of just like one thing or something. Or one shawl.
If you're looking for a scrappy shawl and you're like, hey, put a scrappy shawl kit together. No, trust me. No.
But we can help complement things in your stash. If you if you send us pictures, be forewarned that we don't know what colors are what, because computers and technology and things. But the whole idea of a scrappy shawl is maybe it doesn't go together and it looked cool. So I feel like there was something else and I've forgotten. Subscribe, because I think we're still at 581.
It said 80 this morning.
Oh, we might have lost someone. It fluctuates. It's okay. But that means, we're within striking distance of hitting 600 and giving y'all a sale. So please subscribe, or consider subscribing, or tell someone else to subscribe, or, because then maybe we can give y'all a sale.
Like ring the bell, comment, all the algorithmic funness.
Things that would expose us to more people, and then we have a more community, and yay. So also, we're probably going to we're not going to be open on Labor Day. It's going to be a day off for us too, because we labor hard just like everybody else. But we might have an online sale. Most likely we will. I have not fully plotted that out. And so I don't have a code to give you guys today. But check out Instagram, Facebook. Chances are, because I'm not announcing something on YouTube, I may put a tile up on the main page of our online shop. Like when you go to our online shop, it warns you about Dragon Dollars and gift certificates can't be redeemed online yet. And then if you let it play through, it goes to a tile that talks about the Wednesday product of the week stuff. And I'll try to put another tile up that announces the Labor Day sale. It might even be the first one to catch your attention during the Labor Day weekend. So it could be a Sunday and Monday. It might only be a Monday thing. I haven't decided yet. So check out social media, or check out the online shop to see if that's something you want to take advantage of.
And next Monday is Labor Day, right? Yes.
Why I was talking about Labor Day?
I know. But we've had a conflict of interest for Tuesday. So we're probably going to be doing a Monday sideshow.
We might be filming on Monday. I mean, the magic of technology, we could film on Monday and publish on Tuesday, but maybe we'll publish it on Monday. I don't know. So
just giving a heads up for those out there that
talking about things we haven't decided what we're doing yet.
Well, no show notes.
No show notes. Isn't that why y'all love us or are annoyed by us? And both of those are reasons to keep watching. So, okay. We're going to go open the shop and see what today brings. And we hope the day is good for you as well. So stay safe, hopefully stay dry, and we'll see y'all next week or tomorrow if you come in at night. Bye.